All right, today we're diving into something that is absolutely changing the game for anyone trying to get noticed online. If you're in marketing or really any business, this is the playbook you're going to need for the next couple of years. So let's get right into it.
And it all kicks off with this pretty bold statement, right? For, 2 decades now, the entire goal of SEO has been simple. Get your little blue link as high up on that Google page as you can. Well, that whole game, it's pretty much over. We're in a totally new world now, and it's all being run by AI. So, 2026, that's the year you really need to have burned into your brain. The research we're digging into today shows that by then, if an AI search engine doesn't name you, doesn't cite your brand, you're basically going to be invisible to almost half of your potential customers. That is a massive, massive change.
Which brings us to this really fundamental question. In this new world of AI-generated answers, your traditional ranking, it just doesn't mean as much. What really matters is being the source, the citation, the authority that the AI turns to and trusts. And if you're not that source, well, you might as well be invisible.
Okay, so here's where it gets tricky. The real challenge is that we're not just dealing with one single algorithm anymore. We're now facing these new AI gatekeepers, and each one has its own personality. And the really tough part? If you optimize for one, you might actually become invisible to the others. So, let's meet them. And this chart, man, this really lays it all out, doesn't it? Just look at the trust factors alone. OpenAI's SearchGPT, it's all about big names, high-authority news. Then you have Google's Gemini, which, no surprise, loves its own stuff. It's pulling from the whole Google ecosystem. And then you've got Perplexity, which is kind of the wild card, right? It's looking at research, even user-generated content from places like Reddit. They are just not playing the same game.
First up, let's talk SearchGPT. Think of this one like the conversationalist. It's looking for a good story, for clear, authoritative claims. What's great about it is that it has this really clean sidebar for its sources, which is awesome for getting clicks. It wants to give its users a solid, reputable narrative.
Next, we've got Gemini, the ecosystem king. And this is Google playing its home game, doing what it does best, pulling from its entire universe of products. It's not just looking at your website. It's scanning YouTube, it's checking Google Maps, it's looking at your product feeds. If you're not deeply plugged into that whole Google knowledge graph, you're going to have a really tough time here. And last but not least, Perplexity. This is your super smart, detail-obsessed research assistant. This AI is all about the nitty-gritty. It loves footnotes, it loves citations, and to get its attention, you need to bring something called information gain. And really, that just means you have to offer up something new. Original data, a unique angle, something it can't just find anywhere else.
Okay, so we know who they are, we know their personalities, but the real question is, how do we get them to like us? Let's get into the playbooks and figure out how to actually build a strategy for each one.
Let's kick things off with Perplexity, what we're calling the accuracy engine. You should think of this as the go-to for anybody asking really complex, technical, or academic questions. It could not care less about your flashy marketing copy. It just wants the facts, structured and verifiable.
So here's the secret sauce for Perplexity. You have to format your content in a way that its little crawler can just lift it and cite it. Super easy. It wants answers, straight up. That means you got to use that old school inverted pyramid style. Give the conclusion first, then the details. You got to feed it what it wants. Bullet points, tables, anything that's super structured and easy to grab.
All right, let's pivot. SearchGPT is a whole different animal. It's the authority engine. And with this one, the game isn't just about what you say, it's about who you are. SearchGPT is completely obsessed with your brand story and reputation. It's only going to cite sources that it already knows and trusts.
And this slide just nails it. SearchGPT is looking for trust signals. And the absolute best signals, they come from other people. High authority, third-party validation. This is where, believe it or not, old-school PR becomes the new SEO. Getting your brand mentioned in a place like Forbes or Wired, that's a huge flashing sign to SearchGPT that says, hey, this brand is legit.
And finally, let's talk Gemini, the ecosystem engine. Its whole approach is different because it's looking for something called multimodal authority. And look, that's just a fancy term for saying it wants to see your expertise in a bunch of different formats, not just a wall of text on a blog. To really win with Gemini, you have to give it the full package. It's not enough to just write about something. You need a video on YouTube that supports it. You need great images with the right alt text. You need a fast web page and all the structured data. Also, Gemini can create this rich little walled garden of an answer and, you guessed it, keep you right there inside Google.
Phew. Okay, that was a lot, right? 3 different platforms, 3 completely different ways to play the game. So the million-dollar question is, where on earth do you even start? Well, this next part is all about turning that chaos into a simple step-by-step plan.
So let's make this simple. Here's your roadmap step by step. If you're in B2B or tech, you start with Perplexity. Seriously, if you've got high-quality, factual content, it's the easiest way in. Now, if you're a local business or in e-commerce, your next move is Gemini, because you're probably already playing in Google's sandbox anyway. And then finally, once your brand is really established, that's when you go after SearchGPT. That's where the big fish are, the high-intent buyers who are ready to pull the trigger.
When you put all this together, you start to realize something huge. The very goal, the entire point of what we've been doing all these years, it's completely changed.
And if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. The obsession with being number one, that's old news. That's blue link thinking. In this new age of AI, success is not about being the top link. It's about being the answer that the AI chooses to trust and deliver. We've moved from ranking to reliability.
So I'm going to leave you with this one question to take back to your team. Look at the content you're putting out there. Is it just another blog post fighting for a keyword? Or is it truly the most definitive, the most trustworthy, and the most complete answer to a question that someone has? Because come 2026, that's the only game in town.